On July 20th this year, 2020, yeah, I did a video regarding Chester Bennington, the late Chester Bennington from Linkin Park. I was talking about all the rock bands that he's in. If you didn't get to watch that video, I'm going to leave it at the end screen and also leave it in the description section if you haven't watched it, yeah. That was on July 20th, where I was talking about Chester, and we were remembering the life of Chester Bennington. And, Chester took his life because of the depression. So on that same day, there is a Kenyan rock artist. He's not very popular, but he is from the scene. His name is Tetushani. Yeah, Tetushani. I know him in person. We're not very close, but I know him in person. I've met him. He posted on Twitter that he struggles with depression, and he has for a long time. This specific tweet got a lot of interaction, and he's not the only one. Yeah, I have seen very many people, both fans of the Kenyan rock scene and rock band members, talking about how they struggle with depression, and yet I never see anyone having a discussion about depression, yeah, and mental health in the Kenyan rock scene, yeah. And then also on the same day, July 20th, when I talked about Chester, I shared that video to my Facebook, and someone in the comment section posted a comment asking, why did Chester pass away due to depression? Why would he be depressed? His life was perfect. Yeah, he said that his life was perfect. There was nothing wrong with Chester's life, and this made me realize that surely, we have a problem in not just the Kenyan rock scene, but also in Kenya, in just how people think about depression. And so, for my 100th video, this is my 100th video on YouTube. 100 videos. Yeah, 100 videos is actually a lot of work if you don't know. But this is my 100th video on YouTube, and I thought for today we are going to be talking about depression. Depression, mental health. For those of you who know me in person, I did psychology in campus. Doctorate. Okay, I'm kidding. I have a degree in psychology, but I'm not a trained physician in psychology. But as a significant member of the Kenyan rock scene and someone who has done psychology, I thought it's important to give my own perspective on what I think about depression, where it comes from, my experience with it, and just what I've heard other people saying, plus give my own tips and advice on how to maintain healthy mental health. Yeah, healthy mental state, and also just how to deal with depression, cope with depression if you're struggling with depression. I hope this video will help you. Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, which is Alpha Radio Rocks. My name is Atypical Depression. If you're brand new here, make sure to subscribe and like this video. When you subscribe, make sure you tap the bell icon thingy. Today we are going to be talking about depression. What is depression? Let's just jump straight into it. What is depression? For those of you who think that depression is just, you hear someone saying I have depression and they're like, you're just sad. You'll get over it. Yeah, you'll get over it. You don't get it. You're not getting it. Yeah, you don't get it. Depression isn't about, oh, I'm just sad and I'm feeling kind of low and it'll wear off. Yeah, that's not how it works. For those of you who don't know, we have a member of the Kenyan rock scene called Sam Kiranga. Yeah, he passed away a few years ago due to depression, and that was like the very first time I realized somebody needs to talk about this thing, yeah, and make others understand what depression is about. Because I mean, even on Twitter, when you see conversations about depression, especially with Kenyans, you see someone saying, oh, he's just a coward. That's why he wants to take his own life away. He's just a coward. He wants to run away from his problems. No, that's not how depression works, yeah? Depression literally has nothing to do with the quality of life that you have. It has nothing to do with that. You could be rich and depressed, and you could also be extremely broke and be very happy. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen those two Nigerian movies where you see some man who lives in the village. He showers in a small basin and he lives in a small hut, but he's very happy. Yeah, and then you see these movies also where there's like a rich superstar celeb, yeah, and they are addicted to drugs, they are dying in alcohol, and their mental health is just it's struggling so much. So you really can't say, oh, if his life is perfect, yeah, that therefore he would never struggle with depression. And if he's struggling and if his life is crap, yeah, the irony is that you are judging someone's life from the outside. Yeah, you're judging someone's life from the outside. You yourself, The person who was saying, the guy who said, why would Chester Bennington be depressed, yet his life is perfect? Have you, the person who's saying that, have you ever been lead singer? Have you ever been lead singer for a famous rock band in the world? Yeah. So how would you know what it is like to be lead singer of a band like Linkin Park? How can you empathize, and yet you've never even been there? You're not even a musician yourself. Yeah. So back to my original question, what is depression? Well, depression is a mental illness. Yeah, I'm talking especially about clinical depression. Yeah, I'm not talking about just feeling down for a while. I'm talking about the persistent, that persistent depression, not just the one where you feel depressed for a while, the one that you use in your compositionality. I was depressed that this happened. No, I'm talking about clinical depression. Clinical depression is a mental illness. It is literally that the mind is sick. It is a mental illness that affects our the person's view of the world, their thoughts and their beliefs. It's at least a physical illness tends to have physical symptoms. The problem with depression is that it is a mental illness, and it only has, the issues are really up here. Then it's not something that you can see, like when you have a cold and you have teary eyes, you have a runny nose, you have a cough. These are very visible symptoms. But when you are mentally ill, yeah, I'm sure you've seen it. People who are mentally ill smiling all through, and then when they take their own life, you're like, oh, I didn't even know that she was suffering. Yeah, that's the problem with mental health. It's not like something that you could just see very easily. Yeah. So what are the symptoms of depression? Yeah, what are the symptoms of depression? Well, like I said, this isn't exactly me being a psychologist, Mr. Therapist, but I can tell some of the symptoms of depression, and they typically tend to be someone who is easily irritable. Yeah, someone who's easily irritable for no apparent reason. If you ask someone, if like, let's say, you take breakfast to someone in bed, and then they're like, what's wrong with you? Why are you in my room? Go away. Yeah, there's a high chance that this person is depressed. Yeah, they're so easily irritable. It's like something so small, even if it's not negative, and are quite irritated. Yeah. Number two has to be the feelings of helplessness. Yeah, you feel helpless, low self-worth, and low mood for a persistent amount of time. Yeah, I think clinical depression is something that you can diagnose over a long period of time. Yeah, I think professional psychologists will tell you that depression has to be something that you have been struggling with for like a long time, something like probably maybe 2 months or more. Yeah, if you've been let's say sad for like 2 or 3 weeks, yeah, that's not really depression. It has to be over a long period of time, something that you can go to a psychologist to, and you can sit down with them and tell them, since this year until this time, for an expansive amount of time, that I've been feeling this way. So feelings of helplessness, low self-worth, and low consistent mood. Low consistent mood, it's typically that you feel like crap all the time. Yeah. Number 3 has to be insomnia. Yeah, insomnia, not just the inability to sleep, not just the inability to sleep at night, but also insomnia isn't just about sleeping at night. It's also about irregular sleep. That means that you sleep at night, and then during the day you don't want to get out of bed, you sleep again. Any chance you get to sleep, you're just sleeping. Yeah, insomnia. And then also another sign of depression, there are many of them, but I think these are the ones that I personally can tell very easily. Number 4 has to be when you stop doing things that used to make you happy. Yeah, when you stop doing things that used to make you happy. Yeah, I think that's also a sign of depression. Like if you used to take fun in video games and then you stop, yeah, that can be like a sign of onset depression. You used to do something that used to make you happy, now you don't find any joy in doing it. Yeah. And then obviously the 5th one is feelings of emptiness, and of course thoughts of taking your own life. Yeah, that's also a very popular symptom of depression. I feel like depression has a scale. It has like a scale. There's like this, this like, let me say, low grade depression. Yeah, there's like this low grade depression where it's like, you're feeling down, but it will, it's manageable. And then there's this one in the middle, which is like which is like, it feels like a looming cloud over your head. It's been there for a very long time. It robs you of your happiness, and you feel like you're struggling a lot, even though there's a certain word that people use. It's highly functional depressive. Yeah, someone who smiles and is like, even comedians, someone like was it Robin Williams? Yeah, Robin Williams, the late Robin Williams. He passed away, and he was a comedian. He was a funny guy. Yeah, but underneath the mask of happiness is someone who's suffering in silence. Yeah, and then there's like this very chronic depression on this other end, which is just very hard. You hear someone has attempted to take their life like 5 times, is no longer functional. They stay in bed all day, they can't move. So I feel like even depression has this scale. Yeah, it's like it has this, let me say, levels. Yeah, and I think the part where it gets really bad, where you need professional help, is when now you start having thoughts of taking your own life, and you just can't even leave the house. You don't want to socialize with anyone. Yeah, those are signs and symptoms of depression. And this video is not to be like a therapy session. It's just me creating awareness and giving my perspective on what I think depression is all about. Yeah, if you are struggling, yeah. Oh, and by the way, if there's a symptom I've missed, please leave it in the comment section below. Yeah, if there's a symptom I've missed, a very obvious symptom of depression, but I think I've covered like the basic ones that I know of it. But if there's a symptom of depression I haven't talked about, please leave it in the comment section below. And if you are struggling like really bad, like we're talking like depression where you've contemplated or you've attempted taking your own life, I think it is best that you seek professional help. Yeah, because no amount of me talking to you will help. I think there's a certain level where depression reaches where you need to go see someone who is a professional, like a professional psychologist. But if you haven't reached that level where it's dire, yeah, where if you are at that level where I said it's like a scale. Yeah, so if you're on this side where it's like very harsh, yeah, and your mental health is really struggling, and you've contemplated taking your own life, you should seek professional help. But if you're on this side where it's manageable, going downwards, where you're like, I'm typically happy, but sometimes my mental health gets hijacked from time to time, this video might help you in understanding how depression works, and also how to manage it, or how to just try and improve your mental health. So when it comes to my experiences with depression, have I ever been depressed? Personally, no. I've never experienced like clinical depression. I have had moments in my life where I was like really down, and I was feeling like really struggling mental health wise, but never gone to the extent of this other side where I was saying that having thoughts of taking my own life, or being in a state where I'm so helpless and I can't even move, or even it's disabling my regular day-to-day activities. I'm not reached that level, but I can empathize with people who go through that. Yeah, because number one, me, I'm a DJ. Yeah, interacting with people socially is something that I have to do. It's part of my job. So if I was to withdraw, yeah, people can tell something is wrong with me. Yeah, and typically I'm a very social guy. I'm sure you've noticed. I think if there's a type of depression I have noticed, I personally have ever come close to experiencing, and I've seen it even with my friends, is a type of depression called atypical depression. Yeah, atypical depression. If you do your research on atypical depression, it is a type of depression where people eat a lot. Yeah, I have experienced something close to that. I have. Yeah, but it was like in very low doses, and it wasn't. I feel like it was brought about more with my external surrounding, not really with my internal. You get, there's like depression that comes about as like what I said earlier on. Your life doesn't have to be a mess. Your life could be perfect. Yeah, and you still get depressed. Yeah, but this type of depression, atypical, that I was experiencing, my life on the outside was the one that was really missing me. It was making my time very tough. But I personally, internally, I was pretty much okay internally. So atypical depression is a type of depression that I've seen even with my friends. Yeah, you notice someone was skinny, and then suddenly they've gained so much weight. People who have atypical depression, they tend to rely on they tend to rely on sugars. Yeah, sugars. They like eating sweet things. Yeah, and that's why also you tend to find a lot of people who have depression also tend to lean towards alcohol, because alcohol also has a bit of like sugariness. Yeah, sugary substances, carbohydrates, carbs, junk. Yeah, if you do your research on it, I don't want to expound on it in this video, but atypical depression, it's a type of depression that I have seen. Yeah, kama you've noticed someone is constantly craving sweet foods all the time, and their diet is just full of sweet foods, they have neglected eating regular foods, that could be a sign of atypical depression. So where does depression come from? I'm sure that's a question that a lot of people ask. Where does depression come from? Well, there are two kinds of arguments. Yeah, if you read many books, I actually did some research before I tried to shoot this video. If you do some research, you'll find very many reasons. Some people say it's genetic, some people say it's from the environment. So that brings the question of nature versus nurture. Yeah, are you born with depression? Can you get depression if your parents had depression? Versus, does it come from your environment? Well, personally, for me, if you were to ask me, since this video is about me giving my perspective about depression, I think depression comes from society. It comes from an environment. Yeah, because I always ask people, imagine if you were born on an island. Sorry, not even born. Imagine if you moved, imagine if you moved to an island where it was just you, your bay or your crash, and it was just a bunch of animals and wilderness. Yeah, there was no phones, no communication with the outside world or modern society. Yeah? Imagine that. Yeah, how peaceful you would be. Imagine never having to work. The forest provides the food. You can build shelter out of logs. Yeah, and just live this, this ocha, this countryside kind of lifestyle. It's very simple. You fetch water from the river. There's no piped water. It's a very old school kind of lifestyle. I'm telling you, you'd be much happier. What do you think if you lived on an island which was stress-free, yeah, with perfect weather, yeah, in like a forest with your bay, getting around in the woods, yeah, and the only thing that was surrounding you was animals, yeah, not wild animals, but like harmless animals like deer, antelope, parrots. Yeah, just like an Adam and Eve kind of situation. Yeah. Do you think your mental health would improve? I personally think it would, but feel free to tell me in the comment section below. Yeah, may I think it would improve. Because I feel like modern society has really affected both the youth. It has affected everyone, but it's worse with the youth, because that's why you find so many young people are depressed. To support my argument about depression being something that is programmed into us through society, look at social media. I think social media, yeah, the prevalence of social media has made depression something that is so easy to be wired into your head. Yeah, okay. Before I even dive into social media, let's talk about what happens to the brain when someone is depressed. Yeah, there are three neurochemicals. Yeah, let me be a bit sciencey. There are three neurochemicals that are that control mood. The thing that causes you to be like versus, yeah, there are three chemicals that I think control that, and they are dopamine. Yeah, dopamine, epinephrine and norepinephrine. Jesus Christ, that word is so long. Yeah, epinephrine and norepinephrine. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but I know it's something like that. And serotonin. Yeah, those three chemicals. Yeah, I know that they regulate. They have a very huge contribution into just how mood is regulated in human beings. Yeah, and also when the brain of a person who is depressed and the brain of a regular person, yeah, tend to be very different in that there are certain parts that tend to be affected. Like there's something called the amygdala. Yeah, the amygdala. Yeah, I know for a fact that as a student of psychology, amygdala is the part of the brain that is responsible for controlling fear, and fear is in my opinion one of the fuels for depression. Why? Because people who are depressed tend to also overthink. And overthinking comes from fear. Yeah, it comes from strong fear, strong the kind of fear that just it has taken over your brain, and it's running by itself. It doesn't even need you to even fuel it. Yeah, overthinking, fear, and that section of the brain called the amygdala also tends to be affected. The amygdala of a person with a normal who doesn't have depression and the amygdala of a person who has depression tends to be different. Yeah, I think if I go deeper into that, I'll start analyzing the brain, but you get my point. Yeah, so back to what I was saying about social media. Social media has, I think, number one, social media has created a very bad reward system. Yeah, and it's what contributes to depression. What I mean is, what do I mean by reward system? Well, you know the way when you post something and it doesn't get the amount of likes that you intended. You posted it with the intent of it getting likes and then it doesn't get likes. There's something that happens in your brain. Yeah, I mean, for some people it doesn't bother them, but with the way our current society is, society tends to reward people for certain things. So for example, if you have a lot of followers on Instagram, you're viewed as someone who is more important. Yeah, like for example, if I have 50,000 followers on Instagram and you have only 500 followers, it's viewed as more important and known than you are. Yeah, so it also tends to affect self identity and self view of one's person. Yeah, there are so many psychological elements I'm going into, but you know what I'm trying to say. There's a way social media affects people's minds, in that, especially something like Instagram. On Instagram, do you ever see a sad photo? Yeah, please comment below and tell me. At least on Facebook or on Twitter, yeah, on Facebook you tend to see people post more realistic, life-oriented photos, but on Twitter is typically a place where people go to. Twitter tends to be a bitch fest sometimes. Yeah, you go through tweets and people are complaining about something. The trending topic is them complaining about something. So Twitter at least tends to have a realistic look on how life is. But Instagram, everyone is happy. Everyone has these polished photos where they all look pretty and their life is going well. And on Instagram, everyone is happy. They are going for their vacations with their expensive cars. Yeah. Meanwhile, you are struggling. Yeah. And you see this on your social media. Yeah. And I'm not saying Instagram is the only one that does this, but Instagram is the best. It's the best version of this because it has these kinds of photos everywhere. Yeah? Human beings have noticed that if they post this persona online, they get rewarded with likes, and they gain people's approval, and we all want to be liked. Yeah, it's a core, what do you call it? It's a core human need to be liked, to have people's approval, to be on people's good side. Yeah, so social media creates this illusion that people like you. Yeah, and the people who don't get this approval, for some people they don't care. Yeah, and some people it really affects them because they feel, it also changes. Like I said, depression tends to affect how we see things, our thoughts and beliefs about the world. Yeah, it also tends to affect the way we feel and how we feel others feel about us. And someone may be like, oh, if Instagram is affecting you in that it's making you feel bad about how your life is, well, stop using Instagram. Yeah, but you see, depression is like, it's like when you take a hammer. Yeah, I like using this analogy. Depression is like taking a hammer and then knocking yourself on the head and being like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Because people who experience depression, they know that something is wrong, but they feel so, it's like they just can't. Feelings of helplessness, and that, they're just so tired. And some people may be like, oh, people who are depressed are weak. Oh, people who are depressed are weak. So you just stop being depressed. Yeah. But like I said, the brain has undergone actual physical changes, and there's a way the brain of a person who is depressed, yeah, operates differently from the one of a person who is not depressed. Yeah. If you ask me, where does depression start? I think it starts at a certain point with a certain experience. Yeah. For example, let's say you are typically very confident. Yeah. You're typically very confident, and then you fail an exam that you thought you were going to pass. And then typically that would not bother you. Yeah, typically that would not bother you. Some people would say that If you have thick skin, that is, you don't tend to get easily affected by things, you are less likely to be depressed. Well, I don't know. What do you think? I'd really like to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Does having thick skin, mean that automatically you are less prone to depression than regular people? I don't know. What do you think? Yeah, some people would say that if you are raised in a certain way, that you're more prone to being depressed. Yeah, which brings back the argument of nature versus nurture. Yeah, but back to what I was saying. Yeah, if let's say you fail an exam and you are thinking that you will really pass this exam. Yeah, and typically it would not bother you. Let's say you're a person with thick skin, but then you have someone in the background. Yeah, let's say it's a toxic relative, a toxic friend, and they tell you, you were thinking that you were going to pass that exam, hata mimi nimeanguka, we are both failures. Yeah, or you have a very toxic relative who tells you, I always knew you are a failure. Yeah, it began with this belief that I'm confident and I would never fail an exam, and then your environment tells you, nah, you've always been a failure. Yeah, that's why you failed this exam that you thought you were going to pass. And that is how now, like I said, depression affects your thoughts, beliefs, and your outlook on the world. It begins with this small seed being planted, and that's why it's like depression is like this creeping death. You never really see it coming. It starts off slowly, and that's why you find even people who are depressed can sometimes tend to be very happy on the outside, but inside they are very much struggling. And I still think that our society and the people that we surround ourselves with can really have a very strong contributing factor to our mental health, even if it's not depression. Yeah, our mental health, things like anxiety as well. Yeah, where we live, the modern society that we are in, is a very huge contributing factor. Another thing that I feel, so for the person who was saying that, why would Chester Bennington be depressed? His life is perfect. Another thing that I've noticed can lead to depression is engagement. Engagement. What do I mean by engagement? It's roughly the same point that I just said right now. If you are highly engaged with so many people in your life, I feel like it's a high chance that you will end up having some sort of mental health issue. This is what I mean. Me as a DJ, for example, I'm not actually like a famous DJ. I'm not like Chester level famous, yeah. But even as a DJ, I tend to interact with so many people that I never even looked to interact with. Yeah, I'm talking like through social media, through WhatsApp. Yeah, random people inboxing me, random people commenting on my content. Yeah, now I won't lie, sometimes I interact with trolls. Even here on YouTube, I interact with trolls sometimes, and I can promise you, sometimes it toys with my head. I feel irritated sometimes when I have to interact with some people. Yeah, at some point I just got used to just blocking people. I am like, I'm not going to interact with you anymore because I can see that you're incredibly toxic. Yeah, now if that's affecting me and I'm not even a very big famous person, what about someone like Chester, who is known like by like half the world, of the whole world? Of course, he's going to interact with some very toxic people, and for him, the amount of people to interact with him is endless because of how many people know him. He's famous, but the amount of people engaging him are so many. Yeah, I always tell my friends, why do you think a lot of super hot women? Yeah, this is not in any way to be insultive to ladies, but why do you think super hot women that men would classify as a 10 or a 10 or over, why do you think super hot women tend to be sometimes a bit loopy here? Why do you think that? It is because a lot of hot women engage so many people. They have men from every direction engaging them, so of course, something up here is going to snap at some point because of so much engagement. If you, like I said, if you lived on an island with like one person to interact with and a bunch of animals and very little interaction with the outside world, there was a time I personally lost my phone when I was in campus for 1 week, and I promise you that 1 week I was in peace. There was no one on the other phone saying garbage or calling me to interrupt me or disrupt my personal time. I feel like the less people you can interact with, the smaller your social circle. And that's why a lot of famous people tend to also have depression. It's because they interact with so many people, and some of these people are very toxic. The smaller your social circle can be, the better your life can be as well. And depression, in my opinion, like I said, this is just me giving my outlook on depression. Depression is like a form of suffering. Yeah, I mean, depression is suffering. When you are depressed, you're suffering. Yeah, and I feel like it follows a certain cycle. How does that cycle come up? Well, the cycle starts with fear. Like I said earlier on, it starts with fear. When you have a certain fear that is governing your life, that is running your life, yeah, that is where depression can stem from. So it starts with fear. Fear leads to anger. Yeah, fear leads to anger. Then anger leads to pain. Yeah, I think that's the cycle. This is just my own theory. I'm not really reading from anywhere. I didn't research this. This is just my own theory, and it's how I view. Also the people that I've talked to, this is what I feel like they also go through. It starts with fear, then with anger. Yeah, because behind anger is typically there's like a fear you're going through. And then behind anger there's pain. Yeah, because when you're angry all the time, it's just as toxic to you as it is to the people that you're throwing it at. Yeah. And then after pain there's hate. Yeah. So for example, if you have a job, yeah, if you have a job that you really dislike, yeah, every day you wake up you really just don't want to go to work. That's fear. Yeah, hutaki kwenda kazini. Yeah, and you're also trapped in a fear like, I'm stuck in this job because I'm afraid that I will never get a better job. Yeah, which makes you angry at yourself. You're angry at the world. You're angry at yourself. That why can't I get a better job? You know, which leads to pain. You're in constant pain every time you go to work. You just, which takes me back to my original point about irritability. You know, after pain there's hate. You begin to hate your life. You begin to hate your job. And you begin to hate yourself at some point as well. And then lastly, that hate leads you to suffering. Yeah, you're caught in this loop. You're caught in this negative feedback loop that is just causing you to suffer. Yeah, and which brings me to my last. Yeah, this has been a long video, but I thought it was worth talking about. Which brings me to my last part of this video, which is how do you manage depression, or how do you manage mental health? Yeah, if your mental health is struggling, how can you change your thoughts and your beliefs, yeah, so that you can be able to have a healthier mental state? Well, the first one has to be, this is just my advice to people who may be struggling with mental health and who are experiencing, let me say, mild depression. It's not very strong to the point that they need professional help. Number one is you need to have a well-balanced life. What do I mean by that? Well-balanced life means you need to make time for everything. Yeah, you can't be a workaholic. You can't be the guy who only parties all the time. You can't be the guy who never visits friends. You can't be the guy who never visits family. Yeah, as much as you need to have a small social circle for you to have a healthy mental state, you also need to make time for everything. Make time even for yourself. Don't just work all the time. Yeah, I feel like that is a very huge contributing to mental health. Number two would have to be filters and meanings. Yeah, filters and meanings. What I mean is, you see, like I said, depression affects how we view the world. Yeah, depression affects how we view the world, our outlook on life, our thoughts and beliefs. There's something called a filter. For example, let me give you an example of a filter. Mimi kwetu, in our place, when there's a blackout, I never view it negatively. I'm not like, man, the lights are gone, steamers imeenda. Yeah, you know, I never view it that way. Yeah, I never view it like, oh, the lights are gone, I'm going to be so bad. Yeah, when the lights go, for me that means it's time for me to do something that is not. It's time for me to do something that is not on my phone. It's time for me to go pick up a book and read. It's time for me to go visit someone. It's time for me to get off my laptop, get off the TV, and go exercise. Yeah. So you need to have a filter. Yeah. You need to have a filter. You need to create a filter, and this filter is that you are able to spin negative things that happen into your life into a positive way. Yeah, there are some situations that are outrightly negative, like for example the passing of a loved one. Yeah, if a friend passes or a relative passes, we rarely are unable to see that in a positive light. But I always tell people that if a loved one passes, yeah, if they were still alive, they would not want to watch you suffering. Yeah, and therefore you need to live your best life for them. Yeah, you need to live your best life for them. They have passed away. They have passed away, but they are watching you from heaven. They are watching you from heaven, and they will not want to watch you, struggle, suffer, mourn. Not mourn, mourn. Yeah, mourn. Yeah, mourn them for so long and just, struggle through life. They would want to watch you, even though they are gone. They would want to watch you keep pushing, fighting and striving to have the best life that you can have. Yeah, And that's what I like to tell people. It's like you take a negative situation and turn it into something positive. The more you can look at life half full, yeah, the happier you will always be. Yeah. So I remember there was this one person who saw my YouTube channel and then told me, Ed, you always make such good videos, but you get such few views and you get such few subscribers. Why? And I told him, I mean, yeah, I may get a video 100 views, but that's more than the number of people who attend my rock gigs. Yeah, you see, I take something that is negatively said and I turn it into something positive. Yeah, it's like someone may be like, you only have 1,000 subscribers, that's so small. Well, 1,000 subscribers is a whole high school. Yeah, in my high school we were 1,000 people total population. Yeah, so if I have 1,000 people subscribed to me, surely that must mean something, that I'm making good content. You take a negative thought into a positive thought. The more you can learn to do this in life, I promise you, the happier you will be. Number 3 has to be power and options. When you are depressed or you are struggling with mental health and depression, you tend to experience helplessness, low self-worth, and mood. Yeah, and one of the things that can help you, especially, let's assume that you have very chronic depression. Yeah, and then you go for professional help. Yeah, even if you're given medication. Yeah, once you go back into normal society, you still have to find ways to cope without the medication. Yeah, you still have to find ways for your mind to cope with day-to-day life without medication. And I think that one of the things that can help you is you need to view yourself as a person who has power and options. What that means is, even when you're in a negative situation, for example, if you're broke, you need to view yourself as someone who can earn money and can get jobs. Yeah, you need to view yourself that way, because at the end of the day, even if you go for professional help for depression, it's still a fight of you versus the disease. Yeah, it still needs to be an ongoing fight between you and the disease. Yeah, and viewing yourself as a person who has power and options has also helped me personally. Yeah, there was a time I used to be like, oh my god, this gig is so good. Yeah, if I ever lost this gig, how will I ever get another good one? Yeah, but the minute I lost that gig, I always got a better one. If you lose something in life that you thought was really good for you and you lost it, it means it was never really meant for you, because it was meant for you to have stayed with you. Yeah, and I always say, if I've lost it, something better will come along anyway. Yeah, and that has really helped me with my mental health. Number 4 has to be social support. You need to find, this one is tough because we live in a society where there are so many people who pretend to be your friend. Yeah, but you need to find someone who you can, be close with, confide with. It doesn't even have to be many people. Yeah, real friends don't tend to be very many. They can be a very small circle of people. Yeah, but the more you can find a supportive social group, people who you can talk to openly, yeah, and they won't judge you, which is very hard to find nowadays, I know. But if you can do that, it can really help you. Yeah, change your friends if you need to. Yeah, stay away from toxic family members if you have to. Yeah, human beings are social creatures by nature. We have to interact. You can't just live in your hole forever. Yeah, I always tell people, yeah, if you are the kind of person who likes to live like a solitary hermit, you live by yourself, you don't want to interact with anyone, kind of life, you never even go outside, you're doing an injustice to the person who is in the ICU right now and can't even breathe, talk, or walk. Yeah, because that person wishes that they could get up, they were healthy like you, and they could walk out of the room, yeah, and just go, run and interact with people. So if you are really healthy, physically especially, and you're the kind of person who likes to stay away from people, and I'm not saying if you have depression, I'm saying that you've allowed your fear to take over your life. Yeah, you're not exactly chronically depressed, but you've allowed fear to take over your life, and now you stay in your room and you never go anywhere and you never interact with people. You're doing an injustice to the person who is in the ICU right now, who can't breathe, talk, or walk by himself. Yeah, so go out there and find a social group of people. Yeah, good friends or real friends are hard to find, but if you can find them, and you can find 1 or 2, 3 real people who you can interact with and share even your issues with, I'm telling you, your mental health can skyrocket. And as part of finding a strong social group, Learn to ignore people. Learn to ignore negative people. Me, it has really helped me stay happy. Learn to, the strength, the emotional muscle to ignore people is hard. Because people will always throw their comments at you. It's so hard. It's so hard to ignore people, especially on social media. When you post a photo and then someone says, "You look fat like an elephant." It's so hard to engage this, to not engage this person. You're like, you feel like, you feel like attacking this person. But you just need to learn to ignore people. The more you react towards what people say, the more you will suffer. That's what I've come to realize. The more you react, the more you will suffer. So just learn to ignore people. If someone WhatsApps you something that is really annoying, just delete the chat and move on with life. Blue tick them and go on. And then number 5, learn to try new things. Learn to try new things. If you're not going to interact with new people, try and interact with new things. Try a new sport. Try a new sport. Try a new hobby. Try and travel to somewhere new. It doesn't have to be like out of the country, but tembea Kenya kidogo. The more you can move away from your regular physical environment. Like let's say you typically work home. For once, try visiting a friend. Try traveling to shags to see a relative. Trying new things in life, trying a new skill, trying a new hobby can really help with your mental health. Number 6 has to be self-talk. How do you talk to yourself when you're alone? Are you like, do you mess up and then you're like, "Oh, I'm such a dummy." I'm such a dummy. Are you the kind of person who fails an exam and then you're like, "You see, I knew you're stupid." You tell yourself that. The more you have a negative self-talk, the more your brain focuses on negative things. Our brain consumes things from the environment unconsciously. Not all our thoughts. I think maybe 10-20% of our thoughts are conscious. The other things that govern us and our behavior tend to be unconscious, subconscious and unconscious. If you know a bit of psychology, you know what I'm trying to say. Our unconscious thoughts really run us. So your self-talk is very important. Never say anything negative about yourself to yourself. Never say, "Oh, I'm a dummy. Oh, I'm ugly." The more you say this, the more your brain believes it, the more your brain will act on that. And then the last 2 things is, I think I should mention this, is it's good to eat healthy. This one is kind of obvious, but healthy mind is healthy. Healthy body, healthy mind. The more you eat junk, the more your brain is just going to. It really affects your mental health because it affects how you feel. You eat healthy, you feel good, your brain feels good. Lastly, has to be attachment to outcomes and things. There's this movie called Life of Pi. And there was a time I remember I liked the page for Life of Pi. I'm sure you watched that movie, Life of Pi. It's about a boy who their family is Indian. They're moving from India to America, and then on the way, while they're on the ship, they become shipwrecked. And then the boy Pi, he's the only survivor on the ocean, so he's lost at sea. So on the Facebook page for Life of Pi, they had written that life is a long process of saying goodbye to things. And it kind of is. So the more you can learn to be less attached to things. As in, what I mean is, you're okay having that thing and you're okay not having it. For example, a job. Like the less attached you can become to a job, it's like you're okay having the job and you're okay not having it. The less attached you can become to things in life, the happier you will be. Which takes me back to my point about power and options. You need to feel like if something leaves me, or if I lose something, I have options. I can be able to go for something else and get something else better. That kind of mentality can really help you in life. In life, there's nothing as bad as having a scarcity mindset. You are like, "Oh, this is the only thing I can afford. Oh, this is the only amount of money I will ever have." It's like there's a difference between being poor and broke. You can be broke, which means that the numbers in your bank account are low. But being poor is here. Being poor is, even if I gave you 1 million Kenya shillings and you won in the lottery, it doesn't matter because you'll end up broke sooner and later. So it is you must always view yourself as someone who has the ability to, even if you lost this thing, you can replace it. Even if you lose this one thing, you can be able to get better. And this also brings in the question of, does having money equals having happiness? Well, if you ask me, Yeah, money can't buy you happiness. It can't buy you happiness, but it will only buy you temporary happiness. In my opinion, I think it can't buy you happiness. It can buy you happiness. Understand what I'm saying? It has the ability to make you happy if you know how to use it properly, but it will only give you temporary happiness, because as maybe you've never noticed, but human beings are created never to be satisfied. Yeah. When for example, even YouTubers, when they get 10,000 subscribers, now they want 50. When they get 50, they want 100. When they get 100, they want half a million. When they want half a million, they want a million. When they get to a million, they want to. So if all you care about is numbers, you'll never be really happy. True happiness actually comes from inside you. You are happy whether you have that thing or whether you don't have that thing. Yeah, because I mean, if money bought happiness, then why do we have all these celebrities who are super famous, who go through divorce, addictions, and have all this drama and negativity in their life, if money is the key to getting everything you want? At the end of the day, progress equals to happiness. Even if your life is not moving is not the way it is right now, as long as each day you are striving to become a better you, a bit, it is actually much more in inward happiness than striving to have things on the outside that try to satisfy you. It's better than trying to get things that are externally good to satisfy you internally, because at the end of the day, you will never be truly happy. You will never be truly happy. I know this for a fact. Yeah, I remember there's a time I used to think that if I have money, I'll feel so good and I'll be so happy. But I remember when I was in campus, I was DJing, I had a job, then I had help, and then I was also getting money from my parents. But at some point in time, I was like, why do I still feel so unsatisfied? Yeah, the amount of money in my availability has gone up. It has gone up. Yeah, but I'm still feeling empty-ish. Yeah, I'm still feeling like, it's like, something's not right. It's because true happiness comes from internally. Yeah, it's like you have to be okay with you first, and you not needing anything externally so that you can be internally happy. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this has helped you understand something about yourself, about life. This was just my perspective. There's I don't know if you read some psychology books out there that says differently. That's okay. This was just my perspective on depression and mental health awareness, and if it helped you, make sure to give this video a like and consider subscribing if you haven't yet. And as I said, I did psychology in campus. There are some YouTube channels that I have watched that have very good psychological videos. If you've watched this far and you still want more help than just advice from a DJ, yeah, click on this link up here that will pop up here. I'll also leave it in the description section, and I'll also leave it at the end screen. Yeah, there's a video called how a session of CBT looks like. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. Yeah, it's done by professional psychologists. It's basically where they teach you how to change your thoughts to change your behavior. I think sometimes it's even possible to do the reverse. We can change your behavior to change your thoughts as well. The brain is just like a conduit, but what is inside the brain and how it operates is actually all up to you. Yeah, so there's something called cognitive behavioral therapy. It's done professionally by professional psychologists and psychiatrists and therapists and talk therapists. Yeah, I'm going to leave the link at the end screen, and I'm also going to leave it in the comments in the description section, and I'm also going to leave it to pop up there like I showed you, so that if you want more help that is psychological oriented by a professional, you can check out that YouTube channel. They give a lot of good psychological advice for people who are struggling with mental health and depression. All right, thank you so much for watching this. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like, and remember to share with a friend who might benefit. Yeah, I know this is a long video, but I had to talk about this because if we don't talk about it, it's like turning our heads to those who are suffering in silence. All right, thanks so much for watching. You take care, and God bless.